All right, and we are back. Let's get ready for our first event of the day, and it's going to be an awesome one. It is the Curse of the Moon Race with Joking of Course, Mashthestampede, and Cheno on comms. I leave it in your capable hands, Cheno. Take us away.
Okay, so my name is Chino. As introduced, I will be commenting over the run, and the runners will be hello, and Joking, of course. Hey guys. And without further ado, I think we'll be starting the race soon, so please get to the castle first. Just like countdown, when they go, we'll start the race. Also, let's point out that this is gonna be just a few weeks from now.
Can you send me the category and type for this game so I can add it to the screen? I forgot to do it for the race.
Oh. Are we muted? Myself.
Wait, is there no audio?
Yeah, I'm not hearing him. Okay. Yeah, we're looking into this, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, I can't hear.
What?
We're on mic still.
What?
We're still on mic.
I know.
Okay.
Can't be helped.
Okay.
I figured it out. Got it. I know what I did wrong.
Oh no.
Are there any audio issues?
We're back.
Okay, so now we could see a double slide.
Yeah, everything's back. You can keep going.
Okay. So now coming up on the stream section, the water on the top part is going the opposite side, so we want to spend as much time in the air. And on the bottom one, you have to spend as much time in the water because it will boost your movement speed. And now that we are down below, we have one of the more tricky jumps in the game. You can accidentally fall down into a pit, but thankfully both of the runners managed to get the jump without any issues. We have just a few more door skips on the way, and soon we will be picking up Miriam's old trusty axe that, as I have said, has the biggest single hit damage in the game. And just to clear this up, the basic attack of Zangetsu or Miriam deals 4 damage, the charge slash deals 12, and axe deals whopping 25 in a single hit. And now coming up on boss 2, we have probably the tightest quick kill in the game, to the point where you want to use the talisman on Zangetsu only to get a few additional frames, so you can actually get the quick kill. Sadly, we didn't get the quick kill here, and we get to see the second part of Focalor's attacks. But with Focalor done, we are getting our third ally, who is Alfred. Alfred is kind of a wimp. He has the worst attack in the game. He deals only 3 damage instead of 4, and his range is really short, but he has a few cool magic tricks up his sleeve. And the 2 we will be using throughout the run is his Fire Shield, that deals 1 damage around him and protects us from any projectiles, as well as the most important magic trick he has, a Frost Caliber. That ability will freeze any enemy and make them die in a single hit. For bosses, it will also freeze them in place and make anything deal double the damage for 1 hit. So our already big 25 damage from the axe will become 50 instead. And the same Frost Caliber will also allow us to get out of bounds. So now going through stage 3, at the very beginning we want to save as much HP as possible, because soon we will have a Crusher room coming up. And this room would be really slow if you did not damage boost through spikes going down on you. Here we are also picking up the Frost Caliber, so we can jump on the Frozen Golem and get the shorter way around. So now we have the aforementioned Crusher room. The spikes deal quite a lot of damage, but if you are on full HP you can afford to take 2 hits with both Zangetsu and Miriam. You can easily get through with just getting hit 3 times total. And now that we finished the Crusher room, we have the HP up just 2 rooms ahead, so we are getting that HP we lost back, and we are coming up on boss 3. Veilfor has 2 ways of getting damage. The first one is his head, and he actually takes double the damage, so with everything counted in, we will be dealing 100 damage with a single Ice Axe. And Then he can also take damage from destroying those little coin stacks that we are standing on. Those deal only 1 damage to him, so that is not the best way of dealing damage. So you are mostly looking to just go at his face. And with that we are getting our final ally to the group, who is Jibo. Jibo has only 1 ability. He can turn into a bat, but he cannot take any sub-weapons. However, the purple candles that would usually drop you sub-weapon ammo, sub-weapons, will drop you sub-weapon ammo instead. So you are always getting a 5 weapon point potion from a purple candle if you destroy it with Jibo, and that will be useful for gathering weapon points through the stage.
Just doing that part live.
Now it will be a good time for some donations.
Mute us to get some donations. All right, thank you so much. So we have $25 from Dan R. We also have $50 from Joking of Course and Tam Godzilla, and finally we have $100 from Yari. Thank all 3 of you for your donations. We super appreciate it, and we are now we're about halfway to the $250 goal of the Bloodlines prototype incentive. So keep those donations coming in. You definitely want to check that out.
Okay, so now we have the first zip of the run coming up. We will be freezing a golem and then clipping into it. The game will think that we are in the wall once we untransform from the platform as Jibo. And since the game wants to get us unstuck, it will drop us through the floor. And conveniently enough, this zip will drop us straight into the boss 5. Here we also want to use Ice Axes, since the damage output from that is just ridiculous and really fast. So we will be just using the axe twice, using the invincibility frames from the first hit that we received. And on phase 2, ideally we want to get a double or even a triple hit with the charge slash. And most likely 1 more axe or demon essence for additional damage output. The demon essence sub-weapon for Zangetsu raises your damage output by 1 on every attack. It is useful in a few places, specifically this boss, and the most important place, stage 6. Which has a lot of enemies that have exactly 5 HP. So this way, if you have the demon essence on, you can get rid of them in a single hit. This stage also has a unique mechanic. Once we get outside, it will be raining and the wind will be pushing us to one side of the screen. So you are slowed down if you are going to the direction opposite to the wind. And also you have to be wary, because in later parts of the stage, as well as the boss fight, you will have pits on either side of the arena. So there is a danger of actually falling down the pit and losing to the boss, who is during his desperation attack. And also now we have the first mid-boss of the game. We will have one portrait like that later. They work kind of similar like in Castlevania games. They have an attack that can kill any character in a single hit. but since they are not exactly bosses, you can just freeze them and get rid of them in a single hit with Frost Caliber. Now we have just a bit more running and getting through the enemies, possibly without getting hit. So now on our way to the boss, we want to have ideally 30 weapon points to have for the boss fight. Since we will be using all of them for safety, for boss 5, Andrei Alphys, you need 2 Frost Axes and 1 regular axe hit. But for safety you can freeze him 3 times, so he is easier to hit mid-air. And we have a really good kill on boss 5. So now comes the slightly dangerous part, because the desperation attacks cannot kill you, but with this one there is a danger of just getting knocked into the pit on the side, and even though the boss is dead, it would not save the boss fight at that stage. We would be loaded at the checkpoint right before the boss fight. So now on stage 6, in a second room we will be picking up a Power Glove, which raises our damage output by 1 passively. And at the same room we are deciding our strategy for the boss of this stage. That green candle you have seen there always holds a special spell for Alfred called Voltaic Ray, and you have a possibility of using that as a different strategy for upcoming boss. This strategy is really consistent, but it is a bit slower since you will need to pick up Frost Caliber in other place in later stage, since it is required for stage 7. So overall, going with the strategy that includes Ice Access yet again on this boss ends up being faster, but it is a bit harder and also dependent on a little bit of RNG. Since very soon we will be seeing boss 6, Bloodless. She flies really high up on the arena, and the way you get to her is umbrellas that can spawn randomly at the beginning of the stage. So the room right before the boss fight very conveniently has a lot of candles, so we can get our 30 weapon points just for the fight. And now we are just hoping to get the umbrellas as close to the right as possible, so we can start hitting Bloodless right away. Very unfortunate timing on the umbrellas, so we will be losing a bit of time here. And that is also partially why a lot of people tend to pick up the Voltaic Ray early, so we don't have to deal with the umbrellas. But thankfully we got the boss fight, and Bloodless has quite a unique desperation attack, because on this one you can actually save a little bit of time, because on first part of that attack she will always try to pin you to the wall you are next to. So now that she died much closer to the right, you want to be at the right wall, so she goes into the final attack faster than if you would be standing on the left side of the screen. And on Joe's side you can see that he decided to go with the Voltaic Ray strategy, so he didn't have to worry that much about the umbrella spawn, and he got a pretty quick kill on Bloodless. And on Mash's side we can now see him picking up the armor. We usually want to pick up that armor since it reduces any incoming damage by 1, and most of the enemies will deal at least 2, so that reduction will help you by a decent amount throughout the run. And it only loses about a second and can potentially save a run. So here we did freeze that fire golem. This is the only way to get through that enemy, because otherwise he deals contact damage to you if you try to touch him, and you cannot get through unless you freeze him. So here we should see a slight difference in the route, because we had Mash going for the safer strategy that does not include the stage 7 zip. So he decided to go around and take a bit more time just to be safe. Joe now picking up the Frost Caliber, since he had to pick it up here because he decided to go with Voltaic Ray. And Mash taking a very unfortunate death, so he will be killing off the rest of the characters to get everyone back. So now we can focus on the zip on Joe's side. So now we are out of bounds, we are on an invisible set of stairs, and we are basically looking for one very specific visual cue, which will be Zangetsu's just standing there about now. And we are counting the screen transitions. And once we go down, we should drop into that room. So we had the successful stage 7 zip. And this is actually a good opportunity for Joe to catch up, so I think we are at even pace now. Actually, Joe is now up ahead, so that zip gave him quite a lot. So now we are at boss 7, Badin. He is a relatively simple boss, comparing it to the previous ones, because you only want to use a few frost axes and then just spam attacks at him. Ideally, you want to kill him before he finishes his first phase. So both died at approximately the same time, so now we are at really even pace, so everything will be decided on the last stage in the game. So, stage 8. It looks kind of hectic, because you have the bugs flying around and destroying the terrain. But it really is just running through, and we are picking the fire shield for Alfred, since normally those bugs would deal 4 damage to you. But if you have your fire shield up, you can completely ignore the damage from them and just go through, which will both let us take the shorter way around the stage as well as protect ourselves during the final boss fight. So now we have just a few big enemies to come through. We want to get double hits on them so they actually die in a single hit and don't waste us time. So before we get to the last boss, here is a good time to read a donation or two.
Alright, thank you so much. We had another donation come in from Socks and Streams with $25. Thank you so much, Socks. We super appreciate it. And we are now at 40% of our goal of $500 and $50 away from the Bloodlines prototype show. So keep it coming in, guys. You guys are doing amazing. Thank you all so very much.
Okay, so now we are in the second to last room. We have frogs dropping from the sky. And they act quite a lot like Fleamen in Castlevania, so this gives people nightmares. You can use a fire shield to protect yourself from them. And just after coming up the ominous staircase, we have the final boss, Gremory. So on phase 1, you just want to put up your fire shield as soon as she summons the demon swarm. Stay as close to her so you damage her with both attacks and the fire shield. And now with phase 1 over, we are rolling over to phase 2, which is slightly RNG, because there are 2 varieties of the attack that Gremory can do. But regardless of the attack, we are looking to land charge slashes at the moon, as well as land ball and chain in between. So you're basically alternating between the two and getting the most damage in. So here you can also see Mash switching to Alfred to put up his fire shield, since he was unlucky enough to get the red moons, and they are homing attacks that come straight at your character. They are really hard to avoid. You would basically have to abandon what you're doing, and we also have the time because Gremory died. And soon we'll also have time for Joe. We are just waiting for the final hit. And time.
Well done.
That was actually a really close race.
That was amazing, guys. That was super rad. I love Curse of the Moon. This was just a treat. guys. Man, it was super close. That was rad. Guys, what are your thoughts? What, you got any thoughts on all this?
I am honestly amazed by how close this race was this time.
Right, yeah, it was.
My glimmer of hope after that level 7 zip, I was like, oh no, it brought me right back. I was like, so close now.
Yeah, oh man, you're like, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, man, good job, you guys, because it's like those zips are also, it's like, from my understanding, like a lot of setup, a lot of, like, yeah, you got to be careful, and you got to make sure you're exiting at the right time. Let's show some love to our runners today. Be posting that right in the chat. Give them a follow if you can. Well, you absolutely not if you can. Give them a follow. They definitely deserved it for that amazing race. Joking, of course, Mashthestampede and Cheno, thank you guys so much for doing this. We super appreciate it. And yeah, any final thoughts before we go ahead and get ready for
putting it together? Really
Yeah,
cool
thank you for having us. This was great. This was fantastic.
No problem. This was a fantastic way to start off this evening, and everything has just been awesome. I'm again super excited, and once again we are at $200 right now, guys. So, like I said, keep those donations coming. And up next we have Randy Bobandy _TV with Spyro Reignited Trilogy 2, Ripto's Rage. So you guys want to stick around for that, because that is going to be an awesome run. Once again, thank you, all three of you. We super appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be back while we get everything all set up.